Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Hey there, welcome to Talks with the Invisible Gardener. I'm Andy Lopez, your host. This is where we dig into soil health and learn how to grow smarter organically. Ready to clean up your garden and the planet? Let's go. Don't panic, it's organic. Hello, everybody. Andy Lopez here. Are you guys ready? So this is Talks to the Invisible Gardener. This is, I'm going to have a lot of fun. Today I'm going to talk to you about how to properly care for your earthworm farm. I know you're going to ask me, why do I need an earthworm farm? And so, you know, I'm all about soil health, right? That's living my, I do another show called It's All About the Biology. That's what it's all about, the biology in the soil. So when we talk about soil, we're really talking about two things. One, the structure, the physical structure of the soil, and two, the invisible gardeners that work the soil. And so that's why the earthworm farm is so really super important. So let's go into let's do this. So I wrote down a few points here for you, like earthworms are nature's soil engineers. They keep your soil alive, healthy, and full of nutrients. So why not give them a home and let them help your garden thrive? And so that's basically the earthworms are amazing little creatures. And so I have a little worm farm here, earthworm farm here. And remember, it's a little different than a worm farm. Earthworm farms are earthworms and different kinds of worms. So this is not the ones for those. We're talking about specifically earthworms. And I started doing this business in I started in the 6th grade, but I didn't have the name Invisible Gardener until I got out of the service in 1970. I wrote my first book, How to Heal the Earth in Your Spare Time. And so that was in 1970, and I didn't have an earthworm farm then. Basically, I started making compost. So if you make compost, you want to make the best compost. The next show coming up is how to make your own, how to properly make compost. So I'll cover that with you. But I do a business called Invisible Gardener. And mainly what I do is I bring the soil back to life. So I learned that if you have to have compost. That's one of the things I tell my customers. I no longer make compost myself. I'm getting old, but the earthworm farm is the easiest way for me to start introducing the biology to the soil. Here's my little picture of my earthworm farm. I chose this, and there are many different ways that you can have your earthworm farm. Okay, this is very simple for me. I put it on a stand. They've got a few holes punched in the bottom over there. It's tilted a little bit so that all the water drains out. But you can go online and look for earthworm housing. I guess you call it that. And there are many of them on the market you can buy already made, or you can homemade your own. This is called a cattle trough. I use it because I make about maybe 5 gallons a week. This is the concentrated liquid that comes out through here. And I'll tell you all about it as we move on down the road. So here's the next screen. So as I said, on one section, I drew a few small holes at one end of the trough. So you have the tiny holes, but what I do is I put a screen over it, because the first time I did it, they were like running through there and killing themselves. It was like suicide. So I put a little screen over it to keep them from coming out. And so basically that's important, because when you're doing the earthworm farm, you basically are not doing them in the ground. You're doing them in a container. And when they're done in the soil, Mother Nature keeps the soil nice and clean for them, right? But if you're doing it in a container, you want to give them a little bath every once in a while. Otherwise, they'll all die, because the soil needs to be constantly cleaned. So you want to use filtered water. You want to always have I use a garden filter, and there are many different garden filters on the market. You can text me if you want to know which one I recommend. Where I will be talking about garden filters down the road. So here are some things that you can do when you start putting the worm farm together. It basically, you start with layers, right? So it doesn't matter the particular order, but this is the one that I found that works the best, because you don't want to have soil against soil. You want to have something dry against the soil. So that's why I started off with dry leaves, put dry leaves on the bottom. And the cardboard is cool. When you do the shredded compost, you want to make sure that if a lot of times they'll have a label, you need to take that out, or any kind of tapes that are being used. In other words, you just want the cardboard by itself. Cardboard is totally safe and organic for the worms to eat. Then you want to put a layer of compost down. The compost should be the best compost your money can buy, or the best compost you can make. I myself buy compost from a friend of mine, the best I've ever had, next to my compost, of course. And then where it says a scoop of biochar, yeah, you need just a little thin layer of biochar. I'll talk to you more about biochar as my shows progress. We're going to do one on that. And then the shredded newspaper, make sure you don't use any of the shiny colored ones, just these are recycled and safe ink. You shred them up because it breaks down, and then you put some soil on those. That should be your layer. Think of it as making lasagna for worms, okay? And that's my kitty cat over there. He likes all this stuff. So let's see, what did I say next? Okay, so then you want to get the worms. Now, there are many different types of earthworms out there that you can use. So I recommend the African red wigglers, right? They're called African red wigglers or European red wigglers. You can mix them both together, but I prefer to have one or the other. So it depends where you live. And that's also two of the important aspects of doing a worm farm is where you live. The African red wigglers are the best because they're the giant ones and they really go through stuff, as opposed to the European red wigglers, which are small, but sometimes they're hard to find. So here's a rule. So you want to feed your worms. And it's very different than vermiculture when you're doing worms to compost with. That's another story I can talk to you about later. But basically, you're growing the worms so you can make the liquid, so you can provide that to your property, to whether you pour it or whether you spray it, right? And so you want it to be organic, of course, and you want it to be fresh. When I go to the store, I buy a banana for me, a banana for the worms. See, don't put in mushy, rotten stuff in there because you'll kill them. So you want to specifically feed the worms. So they love organic avocados, they like organic apples, organic bananas. They love lettuce, organic coffee. Make sure your coffee grounds are organic. If you use regular coffee grounds, you're going to kill the worms. I saw an article the other day. Coffee's no good for worms. It kills them. Yeah, chemically grown coffee is toxic and will kill them. And the veggie scrapes, basically, I'm a vegetarian, so I have a lot of vegetables left over. I take it to them fresh and bury it. And you want to make sure that you don't use anything spoiled or moldy, right? No spicy, no oily food. And like I said, feed them like you feed yourself, just cleaner, right? And it's important to not overfeed them, because if you feed them too much, they will die, right? If you don't feed them enough, they will die. It's important when you're giving them a bath. You don't give them too much water, or you don't let it dry out. So it's a process that you will learn, and I'm happy to help you with that process slowly over time. And in the future, when I do the show, I will be able to send out my newsletter in advance so you guys can come online and talk to me about this. So I apologize for not being able to do it in line. It's like my first show here. Lots of stuff has to happen. Let's see what I got up here next. Let me do this. So here I am with my worm farm. This is one place I did it. My poor worms have had to move a few times. So worms need moisture, but not a flood. Give them a rinse with filtered water a few times a week. What will happen is when you do the rinse, it'll come out it'll percolate through the worm farm, and it will come out in a little container in the corner. And this will keep their home clean, and it'll create your worm juice, right? So don't let them dry out, overheat, or freeze. That's very important. You don't want them in the direct sun because, well, mine's a metal. This is a metal container. So if you have that in the direct sun, they will heat up and they will die. If you have them outside and it's cold out there, freezing, they'll die. That's why in my place, I've moved them to my porch in my back, and to keep them out of direct sun, and they will live a lot longer. Right now, I'm in the process. I may have to. What happens is you get more and more worms. So I started off with 10,000 worms you can buy, and then they'll double. They will double in a few months, and they will double again in a few months. So now I probably have close to 100,000 worms in that little worm bin that I have there. Eventually, I'm going to have to double it to 2 worm bins. When I get to the place where I have too much worms, you'll see a little sign out front saying "worms for sale." But also, what's happening is that when you're using the liquid, you'll find that they also have worm eggs in it. So you're going to get worms hatching all over places, which is really very good. If your worms die in your soil, then the condition of your soil is in bad shape. So the worms are also useful to telling you the condition of your soil, right? Because when I go to people's homes, I say, give me $100 for every earthworm you find. And there's no earthworms. That means that the soil structure itself is dead. So we're going to be working on that aspect too down the road. So this is what the worm juice looks like. It just fills up that container there. I do, like I said, I do a natural spraying service. What I do is I take the earthworm juice and I add other things to it, because you can buy lots of mycelium, mycorrhiza, all kinds of cool products on the market that are good to add to the worm juice to amplify it. So basically, and I also add trace minerals. So I use a C90 SEA 90. It's got 90 trace minerals. So my philosophy is to feed the soil, the biology with the minerals. Let the minerals and the biology get together. The biology will break down the minerals into a form available to the plants. You see, and that's the key to it right there. Is pre-digested, right? Rather than getting minerals and spraying on plants, you want it to go through your process. Ideally, you add the minerals to your compost, and I'll talk about that later in one of the future shows. The next show coming up, how to properly make compost. And so you want to add. So I use rock dust, and I'll talk about rock dust coming up down on the show. The rock dust, I use 14 different types of rock dust to get a complete blend of minerals. Ideally, you want to have minerals from different sources, right? So it's all about trace minerals, and of course, we'll be doing a show on trace minerals. And so the worm juice, it has to be used with filtered water, not city water. City water is toxic. So if you give them a bath with city water, you will kill it. So you want to get a garden filter. You can always welcome to. I suggest you sign up for my newsletter. You can ask me questions through there, but eventually you can come online here when we do the show and talk to me about it. And so one of the things I do with the juice is I do foliar spraying. That basically means you spray it on the leaves. That's the way it's found in nature. You go in a rainforest, you'll see that if you can see it, but you really can't see the microbiology. It's not only in the soil, it's in the air. It's on their leaves. That's the way it normally works. So when you have a toxic environment, they tend to die off a lot. So people, excuse me, when people come to me and say, I have an ant problem, I tell them, you don't have an ant problem, you have soil problem. People come to me, I got this disease on this plant. What can you? I want you to spray something for it. That's always their talk to. Spray for this, spray for that, and it doesn't really solve the problem. It's the law of cause and effect. So the cause is the soil, the health of the biology in the soil. All diseases and pests start in the soil. The soil is what controls. The soil biology is what controls diseases and pests. Right. So it's very important to understand that. Okay. So. Oh, I guess I moved through a little bit fast, so you have to follow with me, and I'll talk to you more about this as we go down the road. But essentially, let me see. I should back up a little bit here. So I've been doing a worm farm since 1970, and I've learned to process everything through the worm farm. So when I make my worm bed for the different layers, again, you want to get the best compost that you can get. That's very important. So the compost, it's where you add the rock dust to it. You don't want to be adding rock dust to your worm farm. If you do, you add a tiny small amount, and you shouldn't be using any kind of organic fertilizers. You don't really need that, because this is the idea, is the worm farm is ideally set up to provide the proper biology that you need, right, for your plants. Because that's the way it normally works in nature, is that the soil. So when I started doing this a long time ago, I read Organic Gardening magazine, and it says, feed the soil, and that feeds the plants. I go, wait, feed the soil? What's the soil's not alive. It turns out it's not the soil. When you talk about soil, when I talk about soil, I talk about the physical structure that makes up the soil. There's organic matter, all kinds of stuff like that, right? And so you want to look at it as a city in the soil. And so I got the name Invisible Gardener. One of the things that's interesting about the name Invisible Gardener is that the soil biology is the they are the invisible gardeners. But they have to have a place to work. They need an office, right? They need a building to live in. They need a place to produce. So these are what the soil is all about. The organic matter in the soil, the humus, all that stuff is basically the building that they live in. But the biology, right, it's different. The biology will live in these structures to work. So if the biology does not have a functioning area for them to work in, the biology cannot do their job. You see, so there's two folds you have to do here. So when you work out with the earthworm farm, you basically are getting the trace minerals and so forth already pre-digested by the soil biology, and you spray it on the leaves. So that's foliar feeding, and you soak the ground. But if you're soaking the ground, there's no structure there for the biology to live in, they will die off on you, and you're not going to get the same results as if you're soaking the ground, introducing the biology to this soil, and if the soil had already something there available for them to move into. That's why compost is so important for this process, because you can't just, it's like your stomach, the biomeme of your stomach. I do another show called The Gardener and the Doctor, right? And so a lot of doctors are now understanding that your biology, inside your stomach, is basically the same as your biology in the soil. They're not the same creatures, because we have evolved differently. We were at one time in the soil, and we decided we wanted to be able to get up and walk around. And so it took a long time for us to develop a moving soil. That's what your stomach is. So we have a different biology. That's why you can't eat trace minerals. I tried chewing a rock dust. It doesn't work, because your body cannot process that. When you eat food, your body breaks it down and makes it available to your body. So it's the same thing with the biology in the soil. So it's important to learn that you have to do both. I have customers that have a hard time understanding this whole compost concept, and they go to the store and they buy anything you buy in the store that's in a Ziploc, the sealed bag. It's not alive. Okay, it's not alive. That's why you want to go out. You in your local area. You basically want to. What I suggest is find an organic gardening club. Every organic garden club has several people who make compost, because that's one of the things they learn, is that the better your compost, the better your soil will be, and the better your soil is, the better your plants will be. And you very rarely need fertilizers if you do your compost properly, because compost is a excellent organic fertilizer, because you have all the trace minerals, all the nitrogen you need, all that stuff should be in there. That's why it's important when you make compost to make it with some type of animal manure, because it has the biology. I'll be talking about that in the next show, proper ways to make compost, because I'll cover all that. So it's important to understand that the whole picture. You have to look at the whole picture. You have to say, okay, I have a problem with my soil. It's not the ants, because in Mother Nature's ants are very important. They're involved in everything. Their idea, all this, the ants, as well as pests and diseases, their job is to recycle. When Mother Nature says it's time to recycle you, they will recycle you. So that's how diseases and pests work. Because when you get diseases and pests, when you look at a plant, this is the way it works for me. So when I go to a person's home and they say, I have this problem with this tree, and I'm looking at it, and the first thing that look at is the soil. Look at the ground and going, there's no soil here. Like here where I live, there's no soil. Really, they have not. Mother Nature is trying to make soil all the time, right? She tries to make soil, and we take it away. A leaf drops, and the owner says, don't, get rid of all the leaves. Take everything away. And then you have weeds. Weeds are Mother Nature's medicine. Pull them out. And so because you have a sterile environment, Mother Nature can't make her soil there. So you have to be Mother Nature. You have to constantly provide compost and soil on a regular basis. And so a lot of people don't do that. So you have years and years and years of this soil structure totally gone. There's no soil there. And the roots are growing in it and they're slowly dying. So when I look at a tree, I automatically know, well, here's the thing. So when I go to a customer's place, I automatically know what's in the customer's head just by looking at their property, right? You can tell because they're not paying any attention to either. The human body is very similar to the soil. You don't take care of it, you're going to have problems. So a good doctor say, well, what are you eating, right? What are you eating? What you want junk in, junk out, right? If you keep eating junk food, you're going to get sick. Simple as that. So if you start feeding your soil junk food, the biology is going to get sick. City water destroys the soil biology. So that's one of the first things you want to do, right? That's why I said in the worm farm, you have to use a garden filter. I also talk about having a whole property filtration system, which I will be putting in my links to the shows, so you can check out the whole property filtration system. And you want to do that. This is a very inexpensive one. They'll filter out a lot of chemicals in the city water. You want to have as clean as water as possible coming to your garden. People buy the filtration system for their home. Yeah, good. You don't want to drink the stuff or bathe in it, but neither do your plants. So that's very, very important. So you'll find that there's toxins everywhere, and your property is constantly being attacked with toxins, and so is the biology constantly being attacked with toxins. So I was looking at the comments. There's nobody here yet, more or less. But it's because as I said, this is a brand new show which just came up. Nobody really knows what's going on. So as I was saying, oh, look at that! It looks pretty cool like that. I got set up in the corner. I like that. So in the future, I'll have more of this slideshows available for you. So let's go over a few things again. So there's a reason why you have the worm farm, right? The reason is one of the simplest ways. If you can't make compost, right, then you find somebody that does. You want to get one of your layers should be compost, and the compost should always be used when it's alive. It should be alive. It's alive kind of thing, right? You want live compost. If you go to the store and you buy compost, some of them say no manure added, so that's not compost. Even if they add manure, some of them like steer manure is very rich. You'll smell it. That has the only issue with steer manure, of course, or any kind of animal manure is you really need to know what they're using in terms of pesticides, herbicides, even medicines, Roundup, all kinds of stuff that's being used around it. And when they make the compost from the animal manure, it has this stuff. So it's very difficult to. So that's why you really don't want to buy compost in the store. You want to buy it directly from. You want to look at the person in the eye and say, how do you make your compost? What is it you do to make your compost? You see. And so a lot of people, when they make compost, they miss on some of the most important reasons. There's a reason why you make compost, and you don't really make it to recycle. That's one of the benefits, recycling. You make compost as Mother Nature's medicine. Mother Nature normally makes compost. She makes it all the time, or she used to. Because I tell people, when's the last time an animal came and died on your property and decomposed, right? In the good old days, you had trillions and trillions of birds and animals all over the place, recycling they would eat the stuff, go through their stomach, their biology would take care of it, and they would then they go to the bathroom, would return to the soil. So it's important So your compost is really Mother Nature's one of many Mother Nature's medicine. Like I said, weeds are Mother Nature's medicine. And you can tell what's deficient in your soil by the weeds that grow, because the job of the weeds is to bring the trace mineral up. One of the things that I teach people how to do is you use your phone, you take a picture of it, and then there's an app that you can get, or if I use the iPhone, you click on the I button, information. It'll tell you all about that plant. It'll say, this is rich in iron, this is rich in calcium, whatever. And that is what's deficient in your soil, because that's what the weeds are doing. They're bringing it up, and when they die, they bring it up to the surface, have deep roots. So when you make your if you're fortunate enough to make your compost, you want to have as many different sources of animal manure as possible. So when I started doing this in my youth, I would drive around the countryside, and I made a route. So I would go to a chicken farm and get the chicken manure with feathers and stuff like the eggshells. I would stop at a zoo. My favorite thing was to go to a zoo. Actually, what happened was at the zoo they contacted me and they said, Andy, we have this problem. So I went and visited them, and they were using Roundup, fertilizers with Roundup on the fields, and the deers were eating. The deers were having babies, malformed babies. And I said, what's wrong? I said, well, you need to stop using the fertilizer. And I told them, I said, what are you doing with your animal manure? Oh, we're hauling it away. So they were spending thousands and thousands of dollars to haul away their animal manure, and they were spending thousands and thousands of dollars to bring chemical fertilizers. So I taught them how to use the animal manure and turn it into compost. I would be a millionaire now if I had to. What I told them to do, I called it Zudu, and they latched onto that Zudu, and now I think I never got the copyright for it or anything. But so now the zoos around the country are using compost from their animal manure, and they're selling it as Zudu. And you want to have. So I would go there, and I would get my favorite manure to work with was elephant manure. And it's very, very difficult to really work with elephant manure because it hardens very fast. So I would let it harden, cut it up into bricks, and use the bricks as I go down the road. But you want to have. So what I did was I drove around. This was South Florida in Homestead. I drove around. So I would stop at a chicken place. I would stop at a rabbit place. There were a couple of folks that had a bunch of different animals, between horses and cows and steer and llamas. There's a big difference between a horse manure and cow manure. If you study Rudolf Steiner like I did in his biodynamic preparations, he uses a cow stomach because the cow stomach has the right biology to break things down. It's all about the stomach, right? It's all about the stomach. So you have steer, your cow. The llama is slightly different because it's pelletized. The rabbit's a little pelletized. They all have different biology. And so I would get a blend of so many different animal manures. It was ridiculous. And then I learned from experience that if you add rock dust to the animal manure, it binds up the minerals. So the rock dust the biology immediately binds it up and starts working on it. And so it's important to get a wide range of animal manure when you're making your compost, or somebody that is using animal manure, right? That's very, very important. And so if you make your compost properly, then you can add the compost to your worm farm. You don't want to be adding things to your worm farm like the rock dust. Can easily become toxic. I have a friend of mine who says, no, don't be a moron. Don't use moron, right? Don't use moron. You want to use less. The whole thing here is learn how to use the smallest amount that you can do that would solve your problem. And so I also, so I would go around, collect all those things and and then come home. I learned how to use, I located a really good source of, so when I would go to this farm, it's called the Magic Mushroom Company. And no, they weren't selling magic mushrooms. They were selling the white organic mushrooms. I would buy the mushrooms and I would say, well, how are you making this? Oh, we have the stuff left over mushroom compost. I started buying those. I checked out, sent it off to a lab. They said, oh my God, look at all the biology in that. So I would add that to my compost. Earthworm castings. I go to a place, it has a big giant worm farm, and their thing is making earthworm castings. So I use that one, add it to the worm farm. You don't really need to add, you would say, well, worms produce earthworm castings. Well, it takes a little while to get the population up. So yeah, I was adding it to it. I don't need to add it as much now because I got lots and lots of worms. The worm farm will also produce some worm castings for you, worm compost for you as well. So when I made the compost, I made it basically to order. That means when I made the compost, when it was ready, I used it within 24 to 48 hours. I had people who would buy it, pay me in advance, and then as soon as it's made, come and get your compost and use it. You do not want to let your compost sit for too long. One of the things I did with my compost, I bagged them in burlap bags so they breathe rather than plastic. You don't want it in plastic. So the compost is an issue, is a very important aspect of the healing the soil process. It's just like the earthworm castings, a very important process of healing the soil. If you're good at making compost and you have a nice compost set up in your backyard, that's basically all you really need in the long run, because you can make compost tea. And then you should have worms in your soil. So you don't really, so you may not need it. But in the beginning, when you start to do this, you have no worms in the soil. That means your biology is not there. That the compost by itself is not going to survive really well. It needs more and more of this army, of this invisible army that will start to change the soil. The structure of the soil is a slow process. I tell people healing is a slow process, and that's what you're doing. You're healing the soil. It's not going to heal overnight. Many people say, well, how come you have to, I do a monthly service. How come you have to come every month? Well, I come every month because you're constantly killing your soil. You're constantly, city water, chemical fertilizers will kill the soil. Pest control company, unless it's an organic pest control company, the chemicals that are used in the pest control kills the biology of the soil. And then you have all kinds of other toxins that the soil is constantly being bombarded with. So it's not a happy creature. These guys are not happy because they're constantly being killed off. Plastics is not very good. Forever chemicals are not good for the soil. The plastic beads are not good for the soil. So you get the idea. There's all kinds of stuff that is not good for the soil. So you have to make up for it, and you can do that by starting your worm farm. So you start your worm farm. Ideally, you have both. You make compost and you have a worm farm. The worm farm, you do it specifically so that you have a way to provide a liquid with all the trace minerals in it and the biology in it that you spray your plants, spray your whole property with if you can do it. Soak the ground with it if you can do it. That's ideally. After a while, when you have the production going, you start finding earthworms in your soil. You don't need the worm farm anymore because you already have your own personal worm farm on your property. The worms in the soil will grow and mature, and they will double, and there'll be more and more. So but you have to get the housing, the structure that the worms lived in. Worms cannot live in a desert environment. They have a different structure over there, entirely below ground. So you have to combine the two, and it takes time to heal your soil, like in healing your body. It takes time to heal your body. So this is all a process that you have to learn. And I tell people, just take it easy. And it's also you are healing yourself too, because if you start to understand how the soil biology in the soil works, you will learn more about how the biology in your body works. Because remember, there's no real difference on how the soil works as opposed to how your biology of your stomach works, because they basically have little microbes that are living in your stomach. They break down the food for your body. Same thing in the soil. Little biology is there to break down the food for the body, which is basically the trees, the plants, all that stuff. That's important. So that's what I'm about here to do. I'm here to help you to have the best organic garden, best soil property ever. And the ideal scenario is So talk to me. So you can welcome to come to up to my website, invisiblegardener.com. Just look at the title, Invisible Gardener, and spell it right, GARDENER.com. Sign up for my newsletter. That way you can be on top of everything that's going on there. There's tons of things going on. I'm in the process of getting ready to do online workshops. But I'm here for you. I'm here. I've been doing this in 1970. I'm very good at this. And so it's important that we have a communication going on so I can help you down the road. I know lots of people started a worm farm, killed every single worm. What the heck did I do, right? What's wrong here? And so it's a process that the worms are very, very delicate. They will die on you if you overfeed them, overwater them, don't take care of them properly. So it's a process of learning. It's just like cooking. I'm not really a super good cook, but I am learning how to make food that doesn't get burned. So that's the whole process. I'm here every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to help you. And so thank you, engineer. That was nice. And so I do this all the time. Let me see. I can stop sharing now. Okay, there you go. Stop sharing. So I do appreciate you watching the show. When this, I will repost all these shows up on my social, and you can make comments to that. Ideally, too, you want to make comments if you have any questions, like concerning this show. Just go up to the newsletter, sign up for go up to the website, sign up to get my newsletter. And then you can say, I just watched your show, whether it be the one on earthworms, and I have a few questions. So what I'll do is I'll set up it as part of the show here, answering people's questions from the previous shows. I also will answer them if you go to my, if you're on my social media, whether it be YouTube or Facebook, I'll answer your question on there as well. So I'm doing this. I've been doing this in early 70s. I started with a brick and mortar, doing my show on FM stations, and then went up to the internet. And so I'm here for you to help you make the most amazing garden you ever had. And then down the road, hopefully I will get more people on board here, because I haven't been able to send out a newsletter. So the newsletter is very important for you. It tells you what shows are coming up. Plus also allows you directly to communicate with me. I'm also doing some very cool specials. I have a book called Don't Panic, It's Organic. You're always welcome to buy the book. It's $20 to get it through my website. Plus, I also giving away the PDF ebook version of it. So all you have to do is when you can email me. I saw the show, mentioned that you want a free ebook. I have about, let's see, I got 3 or 4 ebooks I give away. What I'll do next show, I'll post some pictures up here of the titles and what they are. So one of them is called Don't Panic, It's Organic. And I would suggest, if you want to buy the book, that you really get it through my website, because it basically takes you to Amazon. If you go to Amazon and you try to buy Don't Panic, It's Organic, you might get it from other people other than me. So that's why I let you go through my website, and you can click on it and it takes you directly there. But if you do go to Amazon, you can type Invisible Gardener's ebooks, and they all will come up, and you have to pick. There's a whole bunch of other ones, but don't panic, it's organic. It's the latest one. It's a black and white version of it, $20. The ebook, however, is a colored version. People are a little bit confused. They say, "Well, I got your ebook colored. I bought the book as black and white." And so that's a to make a long story short, I did have the color version available. It was $40, but people were calling me up or texting me and said, "Why is your book $300?" So I clicked on their link. Turns out to be Amazon allows third-party, I think they call it third-party sellers. And the guy says, "Oh, this is a very valuable, very important book, so we're selling it for $300. So I stopped selling it publicly. If you want a color version of it, just contact me. I'll be able to get it directly. I have Amazon sell. You pay me, and I have Amazon send it to you. The color version is $40. And then there are other books available that I will have eventually on my website. But for now, it's free. I have a book called Alternatives, Natural Pest Control Alternatives to Chemicals for the Home and Garden. I have the ebook version of it. I don't have the print version because it's out of print, but the ebook version is free. I also have a book on remineralization. Talks about, John Haymaker was kind enough to give it to me to pass out to the world. It's called Remineralization. It's all about, and I will be talking about that. Hopefully, I may get John on the show, but I'll talk about remineralization. It's very, very important. And then I have one more book, which is about refractometer bricks. And so, of course, I'm going to be doing a show on the refractometer and teach you how to use that as a very cool tool to use, which will show you if you're doing everything right. It's all about bricks. Bricks is a measurement of sugar. But here's a secret. It's really also telling you about what trace minerals you have on your plants. So I'll be covering that. We have quite a list of shows coming up. Let me just go over for you real fast. So that the next one's going to be how to properly make compost. Then we're going to be talking about how to properly make biological tea. We're going to cover compost tea and a variety of other biological teas. The show after that, how to protect your fruit trees from various pests. Talk about squirrels, birds, insects. Then we're also going to do how to properly water your fruit trees, other trees, Lois's lawn, right? We'll cover that. Another show is going to be called How to Control Whiteflies. Then another show is going to be How to Control sooty mold. You're going to like that. And then we're doing a show all about trace minerals. And this is open. I'm very open to whatever subject you want to talk about. I tell people I don't do marital problems, but I have helped many families stay together because the good old boy wants to just kill the bug. I didn't turn it off, did I? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to just turn it off now. Here we go. So again, these shows is better if you don't email me. The problem is, since I get thousands and thousands of emails, and I'll never find you. That's why the newsletter is important, because it goes directly from my website to me. I have a box, bypasses all that. I'll be sure to get your email. And if you need to talk to me, I also do virtual house calls online, so I can talk to you, show me what your problem is. I can deal with anybody around the world because the scenario is the same. So I'm here to help you. Hopefully, I'll be doing. I've been doing this since 1970, so I'm not going to stop. You'll see the QR code there that takes you to the website. Makes it real easy for you to communicate with me. And so that's basically. I still got a little bit more time to do the show. So it's as I said, I'm going to be here every Monday, and I'm working on. I already have about 100 shows lined up that I'm going to be talking about, and you'll find that I have a blog on my website which will go over this even more. The newsletter is very important too. I also do a bunch of other things that you might be interested in. I write my own music, so hopefully I'll be able to put some of the music on here. I have another show coming up called Cosmic Spaceship. I write music and do the artwork. I call it inner gardening music. And I originally make the music with frequencies that you play to the garden, but for people it works really good as well. And so there's a bunch of stuff going on here. I'm very excited to be on a Talk for TV. And so I'm looking forward to talking to you. As I said, I apologize for not being able to send a newsletter in time, but next show you'll get the newsletter in advance, so you'll know when it's happening. And if you don't see it live, that's fine, because you can always go up to other different places that are there and make a comment through that. But again, what I would do is, if you want, that's fine too. But ideally, you should, if you want me to answer your questions, you want to communicate directly with me. So you go to my website and click and sign up for the newsletter. That way, you're getting directly communicate with me. The website has a way for the email, and it has my phone number, which I don't post on the website anymore, because that was the problem when I originally did that. The other day I got 40,000 emails. Most of them are junk. You don't want So I made a mistake, put my email up there and the phone number, and the boss came and they took it. And next thing you know, I'm getting tons and tons of stuff. And so I'm here to help you out. I've done this a long time ago. I'm really good at this. And I guarantee you that your property will look better and better. You will be healthier. Your property will be healthier. And that's what it's all about. So I have a few more minutes. I think we'll be cutting out around about 5 minutes or so. So again, invisiblegardener.com. It's INVISIBLE, Gardener, GARDENER. Don't spell it wrong because you won't find it. When I did my bricks and mortar show, people will call me and say, your email's not working and your website is not working. And so they would spell it wrong. So that's important too. That's why you have it up there. That's why I have the QR code that you log in directly to the website without any problems. Again, if you have a question, just mention the specific show. Right now, it's just this show here. So all you have to do is say, I listen in on your how to properly take care of your worm farm. This is a question I have. And then I would answer that first right away when I do my next show. Before I do that show, I would say, this is a question from the previous show. What I do is when you send me a question, all I want you to do is mention your name and city where you're from. And I will only mention the first name, not the last name, just in case, you're shy. And you don't need to be, if you want to be on the show and ask specifically a question, that's fine too. I can always, and then I'm always looking for a guest. So if you're in the soil health business, if you're in the business of taking care of the soil, I like to know what you're doing. I have a friend who's a soil engineer. I'm going to try to get him on. I have a variety of friends that are very good at healing the soil. I'll get them on as guests as well. If you're selling organic products, if you're making compost and you're good at it, I want you on as a guest to tell me what it is you're doing. So again, the way to connect with me is click on the QR code, go up to the website, sign up for the newsletter, send me a text through the newsletter. There'll be a button, you click on it, send email. It goes directly to me, and you can talk to me about being a guest, or you can talk to me about what products you sell. I have a variety of friends that sell a bunch of different wonderful products. I will be getting them on the show so they can talk about how they make their products, why their product is so good. You know that the product is good because I've been using their product. So if you have a product and you want me to tell people about it, you need to talk to me and send me the product. I will use it and tell you if it's any good or not before I go on the air and tell you that it's not good, right? But if it's good, you'll and if you're on the air, you know that I promote that product for you. So let's see. I got 4 more minutes to go. So it's important. So let me just summarize. So I'll be here every week for you, right? And I'm looking forward to talking to you. It's all about. I really like dealing directly with my listeners, helping them with their specific gardening problems. I don't do the cooking aspect of things. I'm learning how to cook more and more. But it's very important that you learn this, because if you don't do it right, you won't get the results you need. And you remember, it's a healing process. So the soil takes time to heal. I have customers who have been doing this for I was going to say thousands of years, but they've been doing this to their property for a long time, and they expect it to heal like overnight. And that's the trick with chemicals. If you use a chemical fertilizer, boom, you think that's wonderful. It's not. It's super stress out. The higher the stress, the greater the pest and the greater the disease. So you want to reduce stress for yourself as well as for your garden. That's the important aspect of it. So once you reduce the stress, basically you are setting up the colonies in your soil. The biology is happy and functioning. The jobs of the biology to feed the plants. That's how trees and plants communicate with. And so you want to live a stress-free environment. And so right now, humans are really stressed out. Animals, creatures, the soil, everything is really super stressed out. So we want to reduce the stress. That's why the music is important. What I'll do is I'll figure out how to share my music towards the end here, or the beginning throughout the show. It is not important. So this is the basic of the show. I think it's got 2 more minutes before we log out. I'm very excited to be here for you guys, and that's what I'm here for. I'm here for you, to help you make the most amazing property. If you have trees, and if the trees are diseased, talk to me. I'll tell you, I can help you. See, you don't cure anything. All the diseases and pests are there, but you can't eliminate them, control them. Mother Nature has ways to control. When the disease takes over, it's because the conditions are perfect for the disease. Law of cause and effect. So that's what I do, is I teach you the law of cause and effect, the cause. Eliminate the cause and you eliminate its effect. Deal with the effects. It's good for business. Go to the doctor, and the doctor will say, keep eating your junk food, but take this pill and see me every week for the rest of your life. That is not dealing with the cause. The cause is stop eating the junk food, right? And you will live a lot longer, healthier lifetime. So that's what I'm here for. I think I got another minute. Mr. Engineer will tell me it's time to go, but another minute. And so invisiblegardener.com. Check it out. I would just click on the QR code, right? Makes it real simple. You're there. Sign up for the newsletter. Say, Andy, I heard you on Talk 4 TV, and I have a question. And even just support. You say, I like what you're doing. I want you to talk about this. I want you to talk about that. I'll cover any subject you want, almost any subject, right? As I tell people, I don't do marital problems. But so I think we're going to be going now. Is that right, Mr. Engineer? Because it's time to go. I look forward to seeing you next week. I think we have a few more minutes. I'm not sure. I'm just going to keep talking to Mr. Engineer. Tells me it's time to go. I think I've done the job already here. So I'm looking forward to talking to you guys every week. If you use a certain social media, if I'm not on there, text me. Let me know what media you're on, because this podcast goes out everywhere. It's on iTunes. It's on Spotify. All the stuff that you normally listen to. That's where I would go to listen to the podcast. And if it's not there, just let me know. I'll make sure that it gets up there, right? And so I'm here every Monday for you, and then I'm also available privately through virtual house calls. Again, if you go to the website, you can say I'd like to have a virtual house call. Click on the virtual house call, and we'll get one started for you. Basically, we have a Zoom meeting or a meeting through this StreamYard to help you wherever in the world you're at. We just have to get the timing down. So here I am, and I will be here every week for you. So I think we're done now. I'm not sure. Let me see. Yep, time is up. Okay, guys, time is up. I'll see you guys next week. Bye. It's been great. I'm Andy Lopez. Thanks for hanging out with me on Talks with the Invisible Gardener. If you like what you heard, hit follow, drop a like, and leave a comment. I actually read them. Want more good dirt? Visit invisiblegardener.com. And remember, don't panic, it's organic.